Discovering Kazakhstan is Jonathan Newell's unbiased view on culture and the mode of life of Kazakh people, on amazing landscapes and architectural masterpieces all over Kazakhstan.
This year, the whole of Kazakhstan is celebrating the 550th anniversary of the Kazakh Khanate. And of course, Astana, the capital of the country, is no exception to that. And that's where we are today, to celebrate with the capital city this great event. Well, the celebrations take many different forms. Today in the capital we've got all sorts of exhibitions, we've got a book fair, there are conferences going on, there are all sorts of things happening in the city. And in fact, coming into the Independence Palace, as I've done just at the moment, I've already been given this book as a present, or as a memory of the event, and I haven't even started yet. So behind me you can see the control centre for all of the media who are attending the various different events that are going on in the city today. And I'm going to have a quick look in there, see what's going on, and make my decisions about where exactly we're going to go from there. The journalists here, they get all of their information, then transmit it out to the various publications. There's a lot of excitement about this event because it's a big, big step in Kazakhstan's history, and one that could determine, from the conferences that are taking place at high levels, the future of the government and the future of the country's direction. So I can assure you that there's an awful lot of interest here. At the moment, there are not many journalists around, but that's because the events have only just started. Once things get going, this place is going to really fill up. With so much happening in the city's celebrations, such a press centre is needed to cope with the influx of international journalists representing all forms of media, from television and radio through print media and online outlets, including the latest generation of bloggers. Much of the history of the country has been depicted in some form or another by a long list of fine local artists, whose works have been displayed here today in the corridors and galleries of the Independence Palace, including a large gallery dedicated to the artist Abubakir Ismailov, whose daughter came specially to the event to greet those who show interest in her father's works. This large, spacious and airy exhibition hall here is showing the works of this man, which are all in this book here. This is Abubakir Ismailov, and he was an artist of the 20th century, and I want to show you something very special that he did over on this side of the hall. This is all about the early Khans of the Kazakh Khanate, and he did some special work on this, particularly on Ablai Khan, and I'll come on to that in a moment. What I want to bring to your attention are these gold etchings. They're very beautiful, and they were done as part of the Soviet Union in the 1930s. Well, these etchings were not destined to stay as part of the Soviet Union or indeed in Russia as it is today. The artist's daughter, she is the one who organised this exhibition, also managed to get hold of these gold etchings, bring them back to their rightful home here in Kazakhstan. They're very, very beautiful etchings. They've got stamps of authenticity on them, and as I say, they're made of pure gold. Well, the main person, of course, in the Kazakh Khanate was Ablai Khan, and he's depicted on the picture over there. He's also shown on a set of stamps that were created in 1994, and this is of a very, very beautiful and simple drawing that Ismailov made of Ablai Khan in the early part of his career when he was just 15 years old. Well, that stamp went into circulation in 1994. It's not in circulation now, it's very valuable, and it's here in the exhibition next to those beautiful etchings. Today's events included a number of conferences taking place in the city, which are being attended by literary scholars, historians and other academics to discuss what can be learned from the period of the Kazakh Khanate to prepare Kazakhstan for its independent future. I'd like to introduce you to Michael Fruscetti. He's Professor of Anthropology at Washington University in St. Louis. Hello, hi.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Tell me please about this exhibition and conference from your point of view. What's it all about?
Right, so this is a gathering of international scholars and local politicians, authors, artists, essentially a sort of a cross-listing of folks interested in the culture and history of Kazakhstan, to discuss and present their research as well as their viewpoints about the history of Kazakhstan going back 550 years. And this is a moment in time when the ruling populations and nomadic populations of the territory of Kazakhstan found themselves in a very unique political moment of change. And the government of Kazakhstan is celebrating this moment, and they're sort of identifying it as a key point in time for the launching, for the launch of their own statehood, so to speak. And so it's really a celebration as much as it is a presentation about the nature and evolution of the notion of Kazakh statehood.
How important is that for the future development of the country?
Well, from my point of view, if we look at any major nation, any nation at all, frankly, history plays a very key role in the way in which the population, the government presents itself to its own people, as well as the way it presents itself to the outside world. And I think that digging into the history of any place, a population can find a root, they can find a strong foothold upon which to identify some of the key principles that they hope to build their contemporary nation upon. And as much as Kazakhstan has seen incredible growth and development over the last 15 now more years, I think it's really important to understand that they're also utilizing the historical record of this very, very rich region. I mean, this is a region that for the last 5,000 years has been populated by communities who've had connections between East and West, who've really grown wonderful layers of a wonderfully layered civilization. And so for them to dig into the history and try to find some of those key principles that they can still identify with to build their country forward, I think is important. And if we were to think about, I'm from the United States of America, right? And so I kind of compare this in a way with the nature in which we have used our own historical, sort of our short history, only a couple hundred years, so to speak, for building a common viewpoint about what the future should look like, and what are those major sort of philosophical and intellectual principles upon which to build a nation.
So a very important part of the whole process of establishing statehood and taking that into the future.
Absolutely.
One conference venue for today's events is the Kazakh National Library, which also commemorated the anniversary by exhibiting its collection of works relating to the early Middle Ages and the rise of the Khanate. As part of this conference that's taking place on the literary representation of the history of the Kazakh Khanate, there's this book exhibition as well. This is a small part of it. It's a very large exhibition, very interesting exhibition. All sorts of different books are being presented here, amongst which are these three big tomes here that are in the Kazakh language, the Russian language, and this one which is in the English language. And you can see there's a lot of material there. It's a very heavyweight piece of literary work, this, all in English, and it's called The Nomads, which is part of the root of the Kazakh history as we know it. Now, on these, within these books, on these shelves, there are all sorts of different kinds, and they represent different aspects of the history of the nation. This one looks at the Khans themselves and who exactly they were. Well, of course, it wasn't just Ablai Khan, he's the most famous of them, but there were indeed 16 of them. This book also, in 3 different languages, is a very nice, very professionally presented, very high quality piece of work here. And what does it actually say about the Kazakh Khanate? Well, it tells us that the period was very important in the history of Kazakhstan, of course, which it was, and it has a place in the future of the country as well. So the fact that these 17 or 16 Khans that were alive at that time made such an impression on the country, that impression is still being felt today and will continue to be felt in the future. The Nazarbayev University also hosted a number of events, including the main Mangalik Yel conference, featuring a variety of streams to discuss different aspects of this concept, which is designed to put structure around the future development of Kazakh statehood. We're in one of the lecture halls of the Nazarbayev University in Astana, and here there's a session going on as part of the Mangalik Yel conference. This session is all about the connection between the 550th anniversary of the Kazakh Khanate and the Mangalik Yel, which is a concept that embraces the future of the state. Well, there's a lot of depth behind this as to just what this concept is, and this is what they're discussing now, what these connections are with Kazakhstan's past and the future that the country is trying to forge out. Well, I'm going to try and find out a little bit more about what this concept of Mangalik Yel is and listen a bit more to this lecture to try to understand from them what their feelings are about that. I'd like to introduce you now to Rafiz Abbasov. He's professor at the University of Columbia in America, and he's attending this Mangalik Yel conference. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
This concept of Mangalik Yel, could you tell me a little bit about that? What does that mean? What is that connection between the Khanate of the past and the Mangalik Yel concept of the future?
For this conference, I prepared a small report about my research about maps and travelogues and geographic notes from Rome, from Venice, and from Genoa. So what we learned from those maps, from those documents, that Western Europe was very much interested in establishing trade relations and Great Silk Road between East and West and East. However, if in the past we believed it was a one-way movement, West was interested in Central Asia, it's a trade route. We could see that now from new documents that East also was interested in establishing trade relations, in having cultural exchanges with the West. From what we learn in Venice, we know that Kipchaks, those who are part of Kazakh nation now, the small group of community of Kipchaks live in Venice. And at that time they established relations, cultural, economic, political, and just personal relations. What it means that Mangalik Yel concept of establishing good relations with all neighbors, keeping peace, establishing trade, building prosperous world could be traced to that particular era. So all parties, including nomads, here we have evidence that warriors of the steppe or nomads were interested also in trade, in cultural relations, and they were very keen to establish good positive relations with the West, have trade, have cultural relations, and have exchanges to travel over there and come host people from Western Europe.
So Mangalik Yel then really is an extension of these long-held beliefs that there should be trade and peace with neighbouring countries.
I strongly believe we can look at spiritual and the cultural roots of concept of Mangalik Yel in medieval era, at the beginning of Kazakh state, because we have a lot of evidences that people at that period of time, when they tried to establish centralized state here, they were interested in establishing peaceful relation with neighbors.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Professor Abbasov. It's been a very interesting day today to discover those connections between the book and the art and the things that have been going on here in the university. All about the connections between the past, the 550-year anniversary of the Kazakh Khanate, and the future, this concept of Mangalik Yel. Kazakhstan places a big importance on those connections between the past and the future. Now we've discovered what Mangalik Yel really means. A very interesting concept, all about connectivity, all about the future, about peace and about trade with other nations. Well, the whole of the country is continuing the celebrations of the 550th year of the Kazakh Khanate, and we're going to be discovering much more of that in the next few episodes, where we'll be continuing a little bit in Astana and the celebrations that are going on here, and more in other regions of the country. I hope you'll join me again for that on Discovering Kazakhstan. Goodbye.